I'm saying is that I think that the case could have been done a little bit better.
Yeah, I still think he was right. What the fuck is that?
Oh shit, he's alive! You can't keep these guys from coming back. What the fuck? Legal reference. Jesus Christ, what the fuck was that about?
I don't know. Shit! Don't you see zombie? Shoot him in the face! I still don't think he's dead.
That's right, dude. Zombie rules. I forget. What's the matter? Too soon? What's going on, guys? It's a Regular Guy 90 with the Regular Guy Firearms channel, and today I'm actually very excited to bring you this review because, truthfully, I thought this was going to suck. A lot of us know about Taurus, and a lot of us know about the clones that they produce. One is a 1911 variant, and this one is a Beretta 92 clone. Very quick backstory, because this is going to be kind of a long video. Beretta owned a bunch of factories in Brazil, and when we started downsizing, the Beretta factories were getting ready to go under because the orders for a lot of those handguns were very quickly and very abruptly taken away. So what had happened was that Taurus decided that they were going to buy out those factories. Using those factories with the same machines and the same presses and all that good jazz, they decided they were going to dick with the design and make it slightly better than the Beretta. Now, whether or not it is actually better than a Beretta, well, it's kind of up to you, really. So, we're going to go real quickly here. We're going to go from top to bottom like I always do, and we're going to start very quickly with these sights. I actually prefer these sights over Beretta variant guns. And the reason for that is that the front sight is still the same width, and it is, obviously, it's got a rather bright white dot on there. The rear sight, though, is widened compared to other Berettas, and the dots themselves are also much more dim. This is good, especially if you're trying to pick up a target under speed or trying to acquire a target under a flash sight picture, so it is actually very useful. This specific Beretta is the alloy frame, or the AF variant, and that is specifically so that this particular handgun is made a little bit lighter. Okay, so those are the sights. I don't know why I put this down. Second thing, these slide serrations actually do work really well. I like them quite a bit because unlike the Beretta, the real deal Beretta, these Taurus guns have very spread out and aggressive slide serrations that dig into your hand very positively. And they don't let go, and those little black tufts that you see are actually my skin flakes because it's the gun ripping them off, which I think is great because they're aggressive enough to work under all conditions with gloves and all that good jazz. The safety and decocker has been modified, and it is in a much more useful place, and it's ambidextrous. And just like most guns do, when you push that down, it decocks the gun. However, what is very nice about this also is you can put the gun on safe by flipping the safety up. This actually allows you to carry this double single gun in a cocked and locked mode, unlike the Beretta counterpart. So I think that's huge as far as a difference for me. Like the 92A1, this does also come with a 1913 Picatinny rail under it, which, yes, it adds some mass, and you are going to have to look around a little bit for holsters, but that's not that big of a project. And it does actually work very well. It's not in the video, but I did mount a TLR-1 on this, and it mounted very solidly. Okay. Your barrel, while the action is still the same, your barrel is slightly different. It's very difficult to see, and you would actually have to compare this to a real deal Beretta. But and it is kind of a hit on the design. The Taurus actually has a little bit less of a feed ramp than a Beretta M9 does, or 92A1 or what have you. It does actually have a little bit less of a feed ramp in there, which I would have really said was a hit, and I did say it was a hit, but honestly, I didn't really notice. This particular gun has about 900 rounds through it so far. It is a pretty new gun, and I have been beating the shit out of it ever since I freaking bought it. Not too shabby for Taurus. Two, three, 4, 5. I botched that first shot. Not bad for Taurus. Not bad. And in short order, I wanted to put to rest whether or not this was good to go, or that it sucked ass just like most Taurus products that I hear about. Okay. Now, flipping this guy over. Your magazine release. Personally, I like this magazine release a little more than the actual Beretta magazine release because it isn't as difficult to reach. Now, I'm sorry, not reach, actuate. It is a little easier to actuate than a either civilian or military Beretta M9. And what I did notice about it also was that while it is easier to actuate, being a lefty, this is actually complicating things a little bit, specifically because, unfortunately, being a lefty, there were a few instances, and I'm sorry I didn't get them on camera, but I should have, where I'm trying to shoot this thing as fast as humanly possible, and I drop magazines out. It did happen on 2 different occasions, but there were isolated events, and I was choking up on the grip myself very high because I was honestly anticipating very high rate of fire and all that good stuff. So, while it is possible, it's not very probable, especially under my normal shooting habits, which isn't fucking Travis Haley fast. Okay. What is kind of neat about it also, and if you notice here, you can reverse it because the dimensions on the button are the same either way on the gun. So that is a huge plus to me. Now, something that I have a down on this gun for, and it's not because they're not functional, but these grip panels, if you want a aftermarket grip panel, you're going to need a specific Taurus PT92 grip, because this safety does dick with the grips a little bit, and if you try to put on a standard set of Beretta grips on this gun, it is not likely to work. That being said as well, speaking about magazine releases and grips and stuff, these magazines, first thing, they read 17 rounds. I could not, for the fucking life of me, get a 17th round in there. So really, I mean, unless I just beat the hell out of these mags over time and wear them in over and over and over and over again, maybe it'll fit 17 rounds, but as it stands, we're at 16, okay? So a little bit of a false print on there, which is annoying as shit. And honestly, I would also like a little bit more as far as witness holes so that I can be a little more affirmative on my round count as far as where the magazine is at. Next thing, and by the way, these are the 2 magazines that come with this gun. It does come with 2. Next thing, the cutouts on this magazine, on these magazines, are wider or larger than those of a standard Beretta magazine, which means that this gun will not take Beretta magazines. However, Beretta guns will take these magazines. And if you're skilled with a Dremel or a file, you could probably open up a Beretta magazine that you currently have so that it will fit in this gun. So, that's kind of a downer for me because honestly, I mean, I would have really liked that the cheaper gun would take the more expensive gun's mags. That's my personal thing. Okay. Moving on to this really weird widget. This is actually an action lock. It comes with a little key, and you can actually lock this gun up to where its action is totally inoperable and it will not work. It is an additional manual safety that requires a key to use. I think that's gay as hell, but if you want to go ahead and run that, it is a possibility for you, and it's not something like a magazine lock to where you have to have a magazine inserted in order to drop the hammer on this gun. So in a way, it's better and worse than other manual safeties or gun locks. Now, let's talk about this trigger real fast. This trigger, in a couple of ways, is better and worse than the Beretta trigger. I'm going to tell you right now that this double action pull is by far smoother out of box than a Beretta handgun. Hands down, no bullshit. It is indeed a ton smoother. Also, this reset, for those of you that own Berettas, you might want to pay attention. This reset is also better than a standard Beretta handgun. And this is why. You guys saw how little room it took to actually reset this gun. On a Beretta style handgun, when you let off real slow to reset the gun, when it resets, And when that click happens, it's actually a very rough reset because it forces the trigger to jolt forward some, so you still have a little bit of slack to take up. It's not so on this trigger. It's as soon as it resets, it's ready to go again. And there's about 1/8 of an inch of slack versus a little over 1/4 inch of slack that really makes the difference here. So that is the better as far as the trigger is concerned. The worse, however, is that this trigger is a little spongy. There is no real definitive wall, and when the trigger actually breaks, you don't really feel weight stacking too much, so it's kind of hard to identify at first when the trigger is going to break. However, I am kind of proud to say that in the 900 rounds that I fired through this gun, it actually does work pretty good now. It's pretty easy to figure out, so it's not too bad. It's not quite like a lot of HK triggers out there that are nearly impossible to identify before and after 1,000 rounds. You have to just kind of have faith that the gun will go in the correct way. And for armchair experts that are going to get ready to rip my asshole open, just do a little bit of searching on the internet. I'm not the only one that fucking hates HK triggers. Okay. Now, something else. As far as the controls and especially the manual safety and all that good jazz, there is nothing really crisp about this gun, honestly. Everything's kind of spongy on it. The safety doesn't snick affirmatively on and off. Just listen. Snicking off is a little better than putting the gun on safe, but on safe is just really spongy. You have to just kind of push up and have faith that it's in safe. That's a little annoying to me. Coming off safe is not too bad, and decocking actually requires a significant amount of force, which is a positive thing because for guys that run thumbs forward grips, that is huge, and it's very beneficial. So, honestly, just recapping on everything as far as the gun is concerned. The good is that right out of box, it does have a very smooth Beretta-like action. It doesn't require too much to dick with the thing. Okay. 2, the rear sight is improved over the Beretta design. The slide serrations and the placement of the decocker and safety are improved, as well as the fact that you can put the gun cocked and locked. Okay. The double action on this gun is smoother, as well as the reset being a little shorter. Those are good things. Okay. The fact that it's a gun that comes with 2 magazines is also pretty good too. A lot of manufacturers are just shipping 1 magazine now, so that's not too bad. And on top of all that, you still retain a magazine release that's really easy to actuate, as well as the fact that the magazines themselves, and I didn't quite mention this, they kick out readily. Okay. However, we still have the bad. Now, the bad is that you have a little bit less feed ramp on this barrel, which, again, is subjective to how much hard use you're going to put it through. That's the one thing. The second thing is that a lot of these controls are really kind of squishy. Okay. The third thing is that for the single action pull on this trigger, it is kind of ghostly at first, but you start to feel the weight stack up and it gets a little bit easier over time. Okay. This won't take Beretta magazines, so that kind of sucks. Okay. The magazines themselves read 17 for the 17 rounds, but will only fit 16 well. So that kind of sucks. And something else about the Taurus build materials, and this is where most of your cost difference comes from. The finish is a standard blued instead of the advanced finishes that they use on the Beretta line of guns, as well as the fact that the alloy is slightly weaker. The difference being the life of your slide is around 100,000 rounds versus 185,000 rounds, somewhere around there. Okay. And your grips are not interchangeable with Berettas, obviously. So that's the bad. Okay. Now, ultimately, would I use this to depend on my life? Meaning, would I carry this? Would I go to war with this? Well, at first I thought no, and here's why. I was running this ammunition from Lax. Lax is a company that reloads ammo and sells it to people. And at first I thought I had a bug gun. And I'll show you exactly what I mean because I had issues like this. And this. Okay, look at this shit. Lex left all of this crap in my gun. That's unburnt powder residue. What the fuck, man? And it's on my arms and shit, too. I feel like I'm a freaking sparkly-ass vampire from Twilight right now. It's some bullshit. So Lex can go fuck themselves. I'm not buying those people ever again. And it happened repetitively. I thought I had a really shitty gun, so I was just kind of like, what the fuck? I decided to pull out my Glock 19, which you see here. Okay. And it started fucking up on my Glock as well. I started getting double feeds, and I started getting failures to fire on both guns. So, you know, I just kind of waived that. And I was like, okay, it might not be the gun, it's probably the ammo. Then I switched to the other assortment of ammunition that I had on hand, like some out-of-box Federal, some Spear Gold Dot, and some Blazer brass aluminum case stuff as well. And the gun ran 100%, as you saw, under high speeds or not. So, really, I mean, honestly, if I were to run this gun more, and if I were to understand things, and if I were to understand a little bit more as far as where am I going to get grips for the thing and all this other stuff, and I'm fairly certain you guys know where to get them. Honestly, yeah, I would carry this gun, specifically because the recoil impulse is the same as a Beretta. The feel as far as the grip and all that good stuff is the same. And honestly, I can be as fast or faster, depending on that shorter reset on the trigger, than a stock Beretta gun. And I've shot a bazillion rounds through Beretta-style handguns. So, really, for someone who is used to the better gun and going to this one, I'm actually very impressed with what Taurus was able to put out. And I was not expecting, really, to be able to come up here and say this. So, what's the price difference? The price difference is gonna be somewhere around $200 less than this gun. Okay. Typically speaking, I have not been able to find a Beretta style gun for under $640. Okay. This specific gun came out for around $470, and it was actually a little more after tax and all that good jazz. So close to $100 of difference. I'm sorry, $200 in difference for a gun made in freaking North Cuba, otherwise known as Miami, and the Italian gun. So shit, honestly, for the hit you take in finish and what types of magazines you'll be able to run and a couple other things, honestly, I would choose this gun over that in a heartbeat, specifically because I can run it a lot better. And I can do things like running my hands over the slide and actually power stroking the thing without worrying about putting down the safety and decocking the gun at the same time, as well as the fact that I can run it cocked and locked. So that's pretty much the end of my little review here. If you guys have anything to say, or if I missed anything, go ahead and leave a comment in the little box below. And remember, guys, that a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.